Folks, today is October 22nd, 2018. This is a call to order for the Brattleboro Development Review Board. Every single meeting we do, I read pretty much the same opening remarks, which are designed to explain to people who have not done this before what is about to happen and what the rules are. If you've heard this before, I'm very sorry. At the DRB, we hear applications for land development in the town of Brattleboro and appeals of zoning administrative decisions. Procedurally, the Development Review Board operates on the record. What that means is that we take a clear record of testimony from the applicant and any interested parties and issue a written decision with our findings. Applicants and members of the public should be aware that because we're on the record, this is your one and only opportunity to comment on or provide evidence relating to any application. In the event our decision is appealed to the Environmental Court, that court will not take or consider additional testimony at its hearing. It'll look at the evidence from our hearings, the regulations or applicable law, and determine if the evidence supports the findings of this board. Only interested persons that participate in this proceeding may appeal a decision made by this board. So I strongly encourage all of you to speak up at this hearing. Because we're on the record, I would ask that if there's even a small modicum of a chance that you're going to talk, I swear you in. But to do that, if you please raise your right hand, I'm going to swear you in just as if we're in the courthouse. Do you hereby swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in the cause under consideration will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. If there's anybody out there who did not take the oath and changes their mind and wishes to testify, that's fine. You have to tell me. I will swear you in. Applicants require a majority vote of the full board to succeed. That means 4 out of these 7 votes. Actually, we have 6 votes tonight. Well, when we don't have a full board present, that means you still need 4 votes out of these 6. Do we have someone who's willing to listen to the recording if we need the 7?
I'd have to confirm that tomorrow.
Okay. If you do not want to try to get 4 votes out of 6, if you want to try to get 4 votes out of 7, you have 2 options. One is you can see if an additional board member is willing to listen to this recorded hearing and vote. The other option is to ask for a continuance so you get your full chance at 7 votes. For most people, we are willing to give a weather report at the end of the evidence that's come into the record. We will tell you roughly what we think of the application. If you feel like you need that extra vote, you can ask to continue, and we will generally continue that application. If you feel, okay, I've got those 4 votes, and you want to get your application approved, we can move forward with 4 out of the 6. After taking testimony, the board will close the public hearing and may vote on your application. The board will issue a written decision within 45 days of the close of the hearing. While we may vote on an application in the meeting, it is the date on the written decision that controls the timeline for appeal. It should be noted that the town of Brattleboro is a party with an interest in land development application. The town has no special status before this board. Documents provided to the board by the town planning department, town attorney, or any other town departments will be considered in exactly the same way as information from the applicant and all other interested parties. We had minutes first to approve from our meeting dated August 20th, 2018. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 6-0. Mr. Bannon, has this meeting been properly warned?
Yes, it has.
Does anybody on this board have any disclosures of conflicts of interest or ex parte communications?
Kathy Dowd mentioned that she wanted to put a pond in at our listers meeting, and I think I said to Kathy, talk to Brian, so I think that's about it for me.
Okay, that does not sound like an inappropriate ex parte communication to me. Do you have any concern remaining on that application?
No.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, did you abstain from the vote on the minutes? Because Norm was not present.
It's a common misconception that people can't vote on minutes simply because they weren't present.
Okay,
However, I don't follow that line of thinking.
okay. I just didn't know whether I heard you say yay, because you said 6-0. and I
If
just-
she wanted to move to amend the minutes, I think that might be problematic.
Okay,
But
that's fine.
I think we can take that vote. Just another word. Generally, I'm pretty well prepared for these hearings. I am on the last day of a trial that was supposed to end on Friday, and then it was supposed to end today, and now it's supposed to end tomorrow, and I pretty much came straight from a court in Newport, New Hampshire. And I've tried to bone up on the applications as best I can, but I may ask the applicant some questions tonight that make me look pretty stupid. I'm doing that because I'm trying to figure out what's going on as expeditiously as I can with not as much time as I usually have to prepare. I'm sorry for that, but please indulge me, and we will try to get your applications fairly heard, in order, and in as efficient a manner as we can tonight. The first application is 2018-29. That is the so-called Red Clover Commons application. I understand that there's a motion to continue.
Yes.
Does anybody here have any qualms about granting that motion to continue? Okay, so let's have the motion from the board to continue.
I move that we continue 2018-29.
Okay, second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
To the meeting of the 19th of November.
Meeting on the 19th of November.
To the meeting of
Oh, you know what, I'm sorry, we have a new board member tonight, Nora Dissinger. And are you an alternate technically?
Yes.
So ordinarily, she wouldn't be on these applications as a matter of right. However, because we have less than 7, Nora will be assigned to each application so that we have the maximum number of votes. I'm sorry, I didn't mention that before. Welcome to the board.
Thank you.
Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor of continuing application 2018-29?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 6-0. Nora, for your information, we have a generally liberal policy about continuances unless we feel like people are trying to run out the clock, as it were. The next application is 2018-154, Todd Einig for Harris Hill Incorporated and the Town of Brattleboro Recreation and Parks Department. Mr. Einig, have you done this before? If you could come up to this table, there is a microphone embedded there. And we have your application, but oftentimes the people who come as members of the public either don't have it or they haven't looked it over carefully. And what I like to ask for people is to tell me sort of a summary of what this project is.
Sure.
Fire away.
So, Brattleboro has been rich in ski jumping community for almost 100 years. The junior jumping program has been a big part of that incubator for the ski jumping program here in Brattleboro. And it was always held at Memorial Park, up behind the softball field. It's where I learned how to ski jump. It's where thousands of kids learn how to ski jump. We've been bereft of a program for 15 to 20 years now. So no incubator program. We have a fantastic hill event every year. We don't have a program that has our own children jumping in that program. So I proposed rebuilding the ski jump that has fallen in the tatters, and they tore it down and took all the scaffolding down for liability purposes. So I found an engineer to engineer plans for a new jump, and hopefully with the board's permission, I can go forward and rebuild this ski jump. We currently have a program which I started last year. I have 10 athletes, which we are using the Vermont Academy facility at this point. But really, objective is to bring it here into town and just revitalize that program.
Is the structure that will be in place almost exactly what was once there?
It's the same size, it's just modernized for safety reasons.
And will it be in roughly the same footprint?
Yes.
Length is the same?
Yep.
Run out?
Everything on the landing hill is the same. There's minimal dirt work that's needed to fit the hill profile.
Okay. What's the grade on the slope? Roughly. You don't have to have the perfect degree.
Yeah, I couldn't even, tell you.
But that's okay.
Brian, could you tell? From the drawing?
It's less than 30.
It is.
Yeah. It's less than 30.
Well, that's what I wanted to know. You're going to use the existing roads, right?
Yes.
And people are just going to have to hoof it up there, I guess?
Walk up the hill, yeah. Yep, yeah, we're gonna build a set of stairs, which were there prior to this, prior to them taking them down, they all rotted away. So we're gonna put stairs in the same assembly up the side.
Where will people park?
There's a parking area just on the side of the softball field there.
This is the second one up,
Yes.
above the ice skating
Above the
arena,
skating.
right? You're gonna reseed the stuff you clear, right?
Yep.
All lighting's gonna be in, oh, I'm sorry.
Also no change in the trees.
No change in the trees?
Tree
Um,
yeah.
I went and marked trees that would need to be taken, most of which were 6 inches or less. There were a few that were larger trees towards the top of the hill that would need to be taken, but I marked the trees and had the tree, somebody from the tree committee go up. I think it was Paul, or, yeah. So they're aware of that.
Lighting will be energy efficient if you put it up?
Yes. I have site plan pictures if you guys want to take a look at them.
Sure. Is it the same thing that was in the application?
It is, you guys have it.
Oh, yeah, we've got that.
You have a bigger version too, this one.
Are there any members of the public who want to see the site plan who haven't seen it? Is anybody here?
Yeah, I'd like to. This is the old, the original, right?
This is the new, this is the new. Sure. Thank you.
Mr. Angel, do you want a little time to look at this before I open up? the
No, I think
public?
this is awesome. No, I'm just check it
This
out.
is just interest.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I've exhausted my questions. Oh, I'm sorry, I haven't. What are you gonna do to keep erosion at bay?
It's gonna be, so the hill's gonna be reseeded, and the grade is such that it's not, I mean, erosion's not really an issue. So, and when it is, it'll be managed properly.
Okay.
We'll put down some substrate that helps with drainage, and then topsoil on top, and then seed on top of that.
So are you gonna manufacture snow?
If the snowmaking pipes are working, yes. But that's seems to be in question. So most of what we're gonna do is all natural, ready for snow kind of stuff. There will be, I am putting in a request to another organizer in Lake Placid. Lake Placid is redoing all of their hills and have some summer surfaces that they're handing out to folks that might be able to use them. So I'm gonna hopefully put a summer surface in-run on the hill, and eventually, after some fundraising, put some summer surface on the landing hill so we can use it 4 seasons.
This is the sort of diamond pattern rubber stuff that allows you to ski whether there's snow or not?
Yep.
Okay, now I've exhausted my questions for real. Does anybody else on the board have questions for Mr. Hyman?
On your diagram, you have bleachers to be removed. Are those ball field bleachers?
Yes,
To be moved?
They're gonna be moved?
just to be moved. Yeah, they're not even bolted onto the pad, they're just
Uh-huh.
free floating.
Yeah,
So
I've
they
been up
can,
there.
so they can easily move them off to the side and out of the way.
Is that a seasonal moving
Yeah.
away and then moving them back?
Yep.
And the town already, during the winter, do they plow up to that second ball field?
I don't know if they still do. I know they do, they go past it up
Yeah.
a little ways towards the slope, the ski slope. I'm not sure if they plowed the parking lot.
So presumably something probably Parks and Recs will talk to the town about having access to it in the winter.
Yes.
Other questions from board members?
But just one last question, on your site plan, it really is sort of a strip with trees really surrounding it.
It
That's
really
what
is.
I'm getting from this.
Yeah, we're gonna take nominal brush clearing
Yep.
just to where original tree line was.
Yep.
Just enough so that we can put light poles and,
So really, the wooded area stays wooded.
Other questions from members of the board?
No.
Are there any members of the public who came to speak about this application? Okay, let the record show, nobody in the public wishes to speak. I propose that somebody move to accept application 2018-154, provided erosion control is sufficient, low energy LED lighting.
Tree committee approved.
No, they already did talk with tree people.
They already gave you something?
They haven't given me anything yet.
Oh, okay.
They're supposed to inspect and give me a yay or nay, but I
Yeah.
haven't heard from them. I don't know what you have, Brian.
No,
No, you'll have to have that before you start.
Okay. Yes.
You want to make that a condition of this approval? I wasn't going to propose that, I was just going to let him deal with them separately.
It's on the decision list, that's why I mentioned it.
I don't really care. It's up to the rest of the board. Board, do we want to ask to have the tree committee approval be part of our condition?
Probably wouldn't.
Okay. Anybody feel strongly about that? So then move to have the application approved with with high efficiency LED lighting, erosion control measures acceptable to the zoning administrator, and any state permits that might be required.
So move.
Second.
Second? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes 6-0. This is our first ski jump application. Seems like a really cool project.
It is.
There were 2 jumps when I was a kid.
Yeah, there's a small slope next to it that was a smaller
Yeah.
jump. The way I'm gonna build this one is gonna be a 17-meter jump, but we're gonna put a start as a halfway for the beginner kids, so they don't have to start from the top. It's not as intimidating.
Next, you're gonna bring back Latches Hill, right?
Absolutely. And my friend was logging over there, so I went over and took a look at it.
Are people over 50 gonna be allowed to use it?
I don't think they're gonna bring that one back.
Are people over 50 gonna be allowed to use it?
Are you a good skier?
Yeah.
Sure.
On down. All right.
Tuesdays and Thursdays, practices.
Okay, the next application, 2018-156, Sara Matters, a pet training home at 10104 Ames Hill Road. Yeah, same thing that Mr. Eining did. If you could just please give us the short version of your project, just to sort of add a little context for us.
Sure. I am a dog trainer, pet animal trainer. I've been so for 10 plus years now. Recently moved to this lovely town and bought that property. I require no construction, no real changes to the property, to simply run some pet classes, training classes out of one of the outbuildings. I work out of my house otherwise.
Yeah, this seems like a very fundamental question, but you do live there, you're the resident.
I live there, yes, I do.
And the hours are going to be between 8 and 6?
I may have a couple of evening classes, a week at most,
What do you think the,
but they would be done before 8. I have no hiccups and going beyond that.
okay. Do you have a little more specific idea of when they would be? Like, is it Tuesday, Thursday?
I
Thursday, Friday?
haven't planned that out yet.
Okay.
There'll be like puppy classes and things like that. I may also sometimes have an occasional educational event for people.
Yeah.
And that would be, those would be during the day.
I know Ames Hill Road pretty well, but I couldn't tell exactly where this was from the overhead shot you had on your application. Can you orient me a little bit?
It's a half a mile up the hill, from the Robb Farm approximately, on the
Oh, okay.
left side of the road.
On the left side, so you must be almost right on the town line. It's below Moore Orchard though?
It's below the pond, it's below,
Okay. Oh, okay, there's a pool right there? Is that house?
no, I have no pool. It's across the street from a White House.
Okay.
It's below the farm that has the sheep and the apple trees.
Right, okay, got it. So you probably are,
It's below Barrows.
am I correct that there's sort of a house across the street, but on your side there are no neighbors for maybe a tenth of a mile each way?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Are you gonna bore?
No. No.
How big are the
I
classes?
will have no kennel, nothing like that.
How big are the classes?
I would estimate around no more than 6 dogs. I like to keep my classes small.
There's some way to keep everything in? A fence?
Well, they'd be in the building.
Okay.
The classes would be in the building.
Okay.
People will come in the morning, drop off, pick up at the end of the day? Or is it
No,
a
they would
couple
be
of hours?
classes where they bring their dogs and stay there for the course of the class. It would probably be an hour, and then they would leave.
What do you think the highest volume you would have of customers at one time would be?
For my classes.
For anything
For
that's gonna
anything.
happen on the property, what's the most cars that are gonna be there?
Maybe 20. That would be like the highest. And that might happen twice a year.
At one time?
Yeah, maybe.
And is there room for them to all park there, or would they have
I
to park on
believe
the?
so. In the, on the site map, it says there's 17 parking spaces, I believe.
Okay. And if you go over, there's
I
some
mean, it
room?
was a farm previously. It was an apple orchard, and trucks came in and out of there, and
Is there some extra room on the lawn if there needs to be a couple of overflow spaces
Yeah.
accommodated?
sure.
I mean, about, the thing I'm trying to get at is you're not gonna have to try to park on Ames Hill.
No. I wouldn't let anybody park on Ames.
That's what we're getting at.
That would seem completely unwise.
So it'll be indoors even in the summer?
I mean, I would like it to be indoors, you know. Will anybody be out in my hayfield with dogs on occasion? Sure. Might we do some reactive dog work out there? Yes. But the classes are intended to be indoors. Those buildings
Okay.
are insulated, so they are really great in the summer because they're nice and cool, and in the winter they're
Oh.
much warmer. So that was part of the logic of the purchase of the property.
Are there any significant HVAC improvements or anything like that? Heating, ventilation, air conditioning?
That need to be made?
No, that you're planning as part of the project?
No.
You gonna have signs?
Maybe I will have a small sign. I actually took a picture. There is an existing signpost there that has the house number on it. So I haven't really planned that out, but I would
Okay.
come back at that point, but I thought I would do something in keeping with the signpost and the house number that's already there.
If you're under 6 feet in height and under 4 square feet, I think you can just put it up, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, you don't need, you don't need,
It would be smaller than that.
you can just put it up.
Okay.
So, Brian, can you remind me why we have an issue with street trees here?
Just there's a gap in it, and it's a conditional use, so landscaping comes into it.
But what's the ordinance requirement?
1 every 50 feet.
1 every 50 feet. Okay.
Yeah. And they could just put in little saplings or something and let it on.
Okay, so, this, I didn't realize actually that this applied in the rural area, but we have a street tree requirement, 1 every 50 feet. And one of the things I don't think we can make an option is you're gonna have to put some saplings in there every 50 feet.
There are a lot of pine trees out in front of the house.
I find it very strange that this applies, and I think that if you could just show the zoning administrator that there's one every 50 feet, you're fine, but we're gonna have to have a condition in there that.
I don't mind putting in saplings,
Yeah.
that's fine, but there are already quite a lot of trees out in front of the house.
I know that area, and it seems very strange to be asking you to put in street trees, but we don't write the laws, we just have to apply them to
Oh,
the
no, I
applications.
understand.
So I think that is all of my questions.
So one every 50 feet from the property, from property line to property line on the road.
And if that's already the case, you're compliant with that condition, you don't need to do anything.
And I just need to show the
Just need to
zoning
show
person?
Brian.
Fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, if you could take a picture and say, hey, look at all these trees on the street,
Okay. And I'm
it.
good to go?
you're good to go. So, again, I don't have any questions about the application, other than that.
I have a question for you, Mr. Chair. Is there, on this draft decision, is there some discussion of wetlands or vernal pools? Am I on the right application?
Yes, number 8.
Do you want to explain that, or?
Well, it's a required condition when you're out here and there are wetlands on the property. Since the applicant is not actually building something, I think there's a very low chance we have to talk to her
I
about
see.
staying out of the wetland.
Yeah, okay.
And I don't think dogs in the wetland are gonna hurt it too badly.
Yeah.
But ordinarily, if you had a footprint change, you would wanna make sure that it was adequately
Okay.
broken from the wetland.
So that's why that terminology is there.
And we'll leave those conditions in,
Okay.
so that if for some reason this barn is expanded into the wetland, it would be violating that condition, but I understand the footprint as far as your planning isn't
For
changing.
this, yeah, for this purpose,
Okay.
it's staying the same.
And heads up, if you want to grow it later,
Mhm.
and these buffers are pretty much mandatory with respect to the wetlands. But
You mean where the buildings are now, they can't go further back?
you need to be 50 feet from the edge of a Class 2 wetland, and a riparian buffer from 100 feet from the top of the bank. This does not seem like even remotely an issue for this application, and I hesitate to bring it up because I don't really think it's.
In fact, you could do a really substantial increase in development on the property with having no impact on them whatsoever. And they're currently fully vegetated, so.
Right.
Okay.
But this will be in in your permit, it's gonna say this stuff, even though it really isn't that relevant.
Gotcha.
Are there any members of the public who came to speak about this application? Yes, sir. The way we do this, there are people who watch on BCTV, and there's a microphone up there so that they can hear you.
Oh,
Would you mind just going to that microphone and saying?
well, I think you covered,
Oh, sir.
Sir, don't talk
You haven't been sworn in, right?
no, I haven't.
May I swear you?
You may.
Do you hereby swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in the cause under consideration will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under pain and penalties of perjury?
I do.
And if you could just say your name and where you live.
John North, I live on Ames Hill. I am an abutting property owner to the west. And I have no real questions because I think the board has asked most of the questions that I had. I was worried about boarding animals, and I wasn't sure what the phrase pet care meant, but I understand it will be just dogs.
Dogs.
Is that true?
I could do cats and other small animals that people typically keep as pets.
The other thing I was thinking about was this is all going to be enclosed in that large building. Is that right? All this activity?
That is my plan.
There will be no noise or anything other
Well,
than
other than my
what
dog barking.
escapes from the building?
No, I don't anticipate there will be any noise. There may be an occasional dog bark.
I also was concerned about lights.
I'm not
And
making
all the
any,
lights are gonna be indoors, right?
I'm not
So-
making any changes outside or even inside to accommodate this business.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Just make sure you each finish talking, because people who watch this at home, when two people are talking, you're both talking, there's a microphone on the table and you have a microphone in front of you, Mr. North. It sounds insane when you're trying to listen to it, and there are two different mics picking up two different people.
Oh,
So by all means, you say your piece. Just, you wait until he's finished before you reply.
oh, I
And
see.
you wait until she's finished before you ask your next question, please.
Okay.
You can go right ahead.
Well, those were the major questions I had. Noise was one, and how many? And you said about 20
That would be a maximum at a
of,
couple of times a year for a particular event. My actual training classes are going to be quite small.
And I'll tell you, Mr. North, that irrespective of this permit, if there are noises from this property above 70 decibels, that there's a town ordinance that says that there can't be that much noise coming on.
even in a rural district.
I believe so, right? I think it's townwide.
It is townwide, but it applies to things that wouldn't be normal, typical residential uses and noise levels. It
Well-
doesn't apply to leaf blowers, is what I'm saying.
Right, that's fair, yeah. But I just want to let you know, there is that noise ordinance out there. We don't make it a condition of our permit because the ordinance is the ordinance. But if any of your neighbors, whether it's
Yeah.
her or any of the other ones, are consistently doing something that's over 70 decibels, like they have a gigantic air conditioner or something, call Mr. Bannon.
Okay.
Yep.
Get your number. Well, that about covers it. I was thinking about fencing also, but it's going to be enclosed in that building.
That's my plan.
So no fencing.
I'm not thinking about putting any up at this point, no.
Do I correctly understand that's because there's not going to be dogs running around outside?
There will never be dogs loose on that property
Got
for
it,
my training purposes.
understood.
Well, I think that answers all my questions, and you answered most of them by your questions. I just wanted to clarify what pet care meant. I didn't assume you were going to have snakes and that kind of thing.
This is really an animal training business, so we will be doing training of animals, not storing animals, kenneling animals, any of that.
Thank you, Mr. North.
Thank you.
Are there any other people here who came to speak about this application? Okay, so there's no further public comment. I respectfully propose that somebody make a motion that this application be approved, provided the necessary state permits are obtained, if there are any, allowing that the home business may have one non-illuminated freestanding sign of up to 4 square feet that's under 6 feet in height, and one non-illuminated building-mounted sign in addition, which is no more than 4 square feet in area, that there be a limitation on boarding, that there must be a street tree every 50 feet along Ames Hill Road, and that we include the wetlands and riparian buffer conditions set forth in paragraphs 8 and 9 of the proposed findings of fact and conclusions of law.
So,
Second.
Any discussion?
as far as the trees were concerned, we also told her that she could actually bring in physical photograph or something to show Brian, and she may not have to abide by it.
The condition just is one tree every 50 feet along the street.
Okay.
If the one tree's already there,
Okay.
she's golden.
Okay.
And a sapling is sufficient if it's not, even one that you dig up from,
Okay.
the edge of the woods and stick on the side of the road. So, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Good luck.
Thank you.
The next application is 2018-157, Michael W. Wolf Revocable Trust, creating a parcel on Fish Road.
It's Muriel.
It's Muriel Wolf, thanks.
Oh, what did I say?
I said Michael. I was wondering who Michael was.
I've had a long day, I'm very sorry.
I'd like to have had an excuse for stupid questions. I never have an excuse.
I'll just introduce myself. My name is Sam Angel. I'm representing Muriel, Ms. Wolf on this. I'm a local attorney here in town. I'm hoping that you each have a copy of the application you submitted in mid-September. If I might, Mr. Valente, just give you some quick background.
Fire away.
So Ms. Wolf currently owns a 67.76 acre parcel of land, and this is just a subdivision of that land. It's unimproved property. It's located, Fish Road goes through it. The board may have been familiar with this. This was subject of an earlier subdivision application by Ms. Wolf. She then owned, I'm now referring to permit 2006-157. She subdivided a 173.36 acre parcel into 2 lots, one of which was 140.36 acres, which she sold to Ms. Dolman, who currently still owns it. And she carved off another 32.99 acres from that and merged that with an existing parcel she owned to the north of 34.77 acres. So these numbers are all sort of, so she's basically carving off the exact same 32.99 acre parcel that she had carved off her pre-existing lot. And she is in fact under contract to sell it to Ms. Dolman.
Can you just orient me on Fish Road? I think I remember this, but I don't want to be confused. Is it sort of past John McKay's used cars and up the hill there?
Oh, it's actually up Sunset Lake Road, right after the Chelsea Diner.
Oh.
So you go,
It's 3.7 miles up Sunset Lake Road.
Is it the one that is a Y that goes sort of, oh no, that's
no,
No, that's
Road.
it's at the
North
top
Pond
of
Road.
Sunset Lake Road and you take a left and it goes sort of down towards Marlboro, right?
Yes,
But this
almost
is
towards
before-
Marlboro Town
Before
Line.
North Pond Road though?
Before North.
Yes,
I know where
before
you are.
North Pond Road.
Okay,
Right after Hescock and before North.
okay, I know, okay, thank you.
So from the map you submitted, this would be the most northwest corner of the town of Brattleboro? Because it
Yes,
borders...
It is,
Property
right?
lines are the Dummerston Town Line and the Marlboro Town.
I noticed that from
Yeah.
your map.
Yeah,
Right.
because I
So
think
this
that-
is the most northwest corner
Absolutely.
of the town?
Absolutely.
Okay.
yes.
corner office.
So the 32.99 acres has already been entertained once under that pre-existing 2006 permit. What Ms. Wolf is proposing to do now is just to carve it off her existing lot to the north. It's sort of a boot shape, an L shape, if you will. And she would be carving that off and selling it to her neighbor on the south.
Is,
And it's unimproved.
And
Okay.
that's Fairbrook Road, right? Fairbrook?
Thayer, I think, Brian, Thayer and Fish Road are the same, aren't they?
Yes, it was changed for 911 purposes.
Right. So
In
this
order
is,
not to be confused with Thayer Ridge Road on the other side of town.
Well, I was just looking at this, it says Fairbrook, it doesn't say.
That may be the actual brook, right?
That may be the name of the brook.
I think that's the brook, yeah, not the road.
it,
But it is served by, this is served by Fish Road. There was also a previous discontinuance, in case the board wants to recall that. But that discontinuance is actually about 2/3 of the way into the subject 32.99 acre parcel. If you look at if you have a magnifying glass or sharp eyes, it is right where, well, if you can see, how would I explain? It's about halfway in the middle of the boot shape of the 32.99 acre parcel. There's a little line that comes off and it says gate at end, if you
Yeah.
can see that. So the road was discontinued from there to the south.
Oh,
But it still is serviced by that road. That parcel, the road still goes, Fisch Road still goes into that parcel, the 32.99 acres.
okay. There's a question here of whether the subdivision is creating a development parcel from the land excluded from current use.
No,
It's not.
It's not.
And actually, for the board's sake also, I would note, the deed is going to have language that any development of that parcel, the owner of the land at that point will have to come back in front of the development review board to develop that, to figure out where the envelope is gonna be or where the development's actually gonna be. The agreed upon the language is gonna say, by acceptance of this deed, the grantee, her heirs and assigns hereby acknowledge that future development of the parcel herein conveyed may require development approval by the municipal body having jurisdiction over such matters. So we're just talking about the subdivision line, and actually the line is in the survey that's already recorded in the town records, so the plot plan and everything is all set. It's gonna be that same line.
Is there any public recreation that happens on this parcel?
none.
One of the conditions we probably include here is that we want a stormwater plan before a home could be built. Is this a working forest? Is this a kind of sitting forest?
It's under current use, so there's a 10-year forestry plan that's required by current use. It's overseen by the forester, George Ware.
Okay.
Because it's over 25 acres, it can remain in the program.
Okay, so, let's see, we would ask that, we probably have a condition that heated structures be built in an energy efficient manner. Are there trails up there?
There were a couple of new trails made by logging that was done under the forestry plan.
There's nothing open to the public?
Nothing that's open to the public, and in the many, many years I lived up there was never any public use.
Okay. You're not planning to set up any cables,
Any cables?
telephone,
Oh.
electricity?
I'm planning on doing nothing.
Okay, just being clear.
Except selling it. The owner and Dolman Wang, I think will have to check in with you regarding her plans.
Brian, I know that I ask this every time this comes up. Why do these subdivisions come before us?
What is the question?
It creates a new parcel.
So,
Why does the DRB see the subdivision application?
there's been, this is inside baseball.
I see.
Some subdivisions can be granted as a matter of right under the new ordinances from a couple of years ago, and some can't, and I always forget why some can and some can't.
Yeah, so this is creating a new parcel, so it does require board approval.
Oh, okay.
We were, James, we were gonna see if we could treat this as a lot line adjustment if the new buyer was going to simply merge it with her existing parcel. But she didn't feel like she wanted to do that, so as Brian says, it's creating a separate parcel. If we had been able to merge it, I think
Yes.
it would have been able to be done administratively, I think.
Yeah.
This is not a signal of my displeasure with the applicant. It's a lack of understanding of why this demands a full board, because it seems like such a basic
Yeah.
I agree.
use of one's own land as they wish.
So, just to ask a question then, if this applicant is selling it essentially to her neighbor, in the sense that they both own property,
Yep.
so the lot will be created and changed in the town records, but this person who's purchasing this lot, if they chose, could take the lot, they have this lot and merge it and have it recorded as one.
Or sell it.
Sure. They could.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, that's fine. That's fine.
And I just have a question, I'm actually more familiar with Guilford than Brattleboro, but is this, you mentioned that gate, is Fisch a town-maintained road to a certain point, and then
It's not a town-maintained road in Brattleboro.
Okay.
The first half mile is in Dummerston, and that is town-maintained by Dummerston.
Okay.
And at the town line, where the property I still own begins,
Okay.
alas, for my sake, it turns into a Class 4 road.
Okay.
It's a
So if I wanted to
class
think about it, it's less that Fish Road terminates in Dummerston, it originates from Dummerston and terminates before it gets to Brattleboro, as a town.
Terminates in Brattleboro.
Okay.
And am I correct, just to continue with the boot metaphor, that the corner at the top of your foot is going to be what keeps this, that'll be the right-of-way that keeps this from becoming an island? The purchaser of this parcel is going to be able to get into it from Fish Road?
Yes.
Okay. That's all I'm,
She
Yes.
currently accesses now.
Yes,
Yeah.
she can.
yeah, I apologize for asking that in a more complicated way than I had to, but the bottom line is, there's a way for this person to get out.
Yes,
ID, okay,
Yes.
she's currently doing that.
or in.
Yes,
And back in and out.
That's the right way, right there. Any members of the board have any questions? Are there any members of the public who came to speak about this application? Records show there's none. I propose that we issue a permit indicating that the applicant needs to get any state permits if they're required. State permits, I should say. That new deeds be filed with the town clerk within 180 days. That future structures be oriented to make use of renewable energy, including solar energy. That future land development be in conformance with our stormwater management ordinances and erosion control ordinances. And I think that's really all we need.
the board might like to know something just interesting factoid about this property, which is that it is the genesis of Halliday Brook, which becomes the Whetstone Brook. It
Really?
all starts right there.
Oh, it intersects with Whetstone. Because Whetstone comes from Marlboro.
Whetstone comes from Marlboro, Halliday Brook feeds into Whetstone.
Right,
Oh,
okay.
I didn't realize Whetstone is, yes, so the two of them
Yeah.
generate the flooding that
We
happens.
we don't have much to be proud of in Marlboro, but we do have the origin of the Whetstone Brook. We won't let Brattleboro take that.
And I have I forgive, I apologize.
That's okay,
Please
that's
forgive
okay.
me. I also have a question. What am I to do with this?
Hold on one second.
Okay.
I will tell you in a second. Can somebody make the motion?
I so moved.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 6-0.
Thank you.
Brian, what does one do with that when they have an undeveloped forest parcel in the middle of nowhere? I actually don't know the answer to that. Put it in the edge by the road?
Yeah,
Put it on
the
Fish
edge
Road.
by whatever right of way there is.
Is that required?
Yes, yeah, just,
Just hang it on a tree?
yes,
No.
That is part of the lot that is under consideration.
yeah.
Okay.
As long as it's visible from the next abutting lot that would look in. That's what the goal is here.
Just you.
I mean, this is,
That's you.
Yeah.
I know.
You still-
Okay.
That's the ordinance. It's really designed for parcels within the town so people can see the permit and raise a fuss if they feel like they haven't gotten warning. That's what this is really for.
Okay.
But the ordinance is black and white. It says put the P up.
So you could put it on that gate.
I could hang it on my wall at home.
Yes, this is not a very good, it's not a very applicable situation for the red P, but the law is the law and we enforce the law around here, so.
That wasn't said disrespectfully. but-
No, I understand. I
Thank you very
understand.
much. Any idea how long it's gonna take to get a decision for purposes of closing this?
A week?
Oh,
Is that too much?
We'll expedite.
oh, super. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Thank you for your service.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Have a nice night. And I'm sorry I called you Michael. That was embarrassing.
No worries.
Okay, the next application is 2018-159, Katherine and Ernest Dowd. I will try to get the names right for you folks.
So far, so good.
So far, so good.
Good evening, everyone.
So Mr. and Mrs. Dowd,
That's us.
can you tell us a little bit about your project, please? And if you haven't already noticed, I don't know exactly where a lot of these are, and I like to just have an idea. I know Bonnyvale Road,
Good.
so if you can tell me where a couple of things are relative to the property, that would be a helpful start.
So it's the property at the very end of the pavement from the Brattleboro side, on the right-hand side of the road.
1 mile up. And the
Oh.
road, the paved
road.
road stops and the dirt road begins and,
At our driveway.
correct.
Okay.
It's sort of on a hill, right? Pavement
It
ends
is.
on a hill and then the
It
dirt
comes right up.
continues. Yeah,
Yep.
okay.
So
Was that owned formerly by a doctor?
Dr. Kister lived across the way and Tom Durkin lives across the hill and then you come down and there's Dr. Broadhurst
Right,
and our
right.
daughter, our
Okay.
house, and across the big colonial, the old-fashioned colonial was Edwin Kistler, who was here for many years.
You guys got a pretty nice little concentration of doctors up there. All right, yeah, I think I know this parcel. I should note that Judge Durkin is a friend of mine. I don't think it creates a conflict of interest, particularly since he's not here tonight. If he did have an issue because he's the environmental court judge, I think it would create an incredibly complicated web of conflicts of interest. So we're just gonna leave that aside for now. Tell us a little bit about your project.
We're hope to build a small pond, and I sent colored pictures of our landscape. So we've been on this land since 1974. And though the tax map shows that we have a small parcel, which is about 3 acres, we actually have 19.1 acres. Just the way the tax map shows that we own the land around us.
Is that just because you own a couple of parcels that are
And the tax
contiguous?
map merges them.
Yeah.
But for our purposes, the little pond is on that 3-acre piece, give or take. And then the technical version, if anybody knows Tim Hamilton from Whetstone Valley Excavating in West Brattleboro,
Sure.
he's done almost all of our work over many, many years. And many, many years, we've done things like, well, along with wildlife and managed trees, we've had to, that hillside sheds water everywhere. So over the years, when we built our house, we had to put a swale in to make sure we had a dry basement. So he's done all the work. So his technical term for what he's doing is, I wrote this down, he says he will create a bowl in the yard with a slight raised area on the low side of the bowl. The stream will not flow through the pond. That little stream that I showed with no vegetation is really the water that comes from the swale at the back of our house, and that water goes off. And then he goes on to tell me the stream will supplement water if it is needed, because we have so much water.
Mhm.
And that's why we're here. We would like to use it for the pond, and a couple things happen. One is nature, birds. My husband's a wonderful bird person.
Mhm.
We have all kinds of things. Lately, we even had a bobcat walk down between the two houses. In 40 years, we've never seen a bobcat. But also, it'll use for swimming, but also we called the town fire department because Mr. Bannon said, would it be used for a fire pond? And I called Howard, is it Mr. Howard? Lenny Howard?
Yeah.
To ask, would it work for fire pond? Gave him the dimensions that Mr. Hamilton gave us. There's a contour where it dropped 9 to 10 feet, is that right? And so we're just using the contours of land, and so it's gonna fit into this ravine that's already there. And it measures 35 feet wide, potentially, maybe 40, but it could be a little less, or it could be 5 feet more, depending on what the land tells him. When I called the assistant fire chief, he calculated the gallons of water and said it would be grand as a fire pond, because it would have enough water. So that's just something that could happen, and we're told that we would either get a hydrant or a standing pipe, but that doesn't have to be determined now. It would just matter of when it gets put in place, what makes the most sense to happen. He sent us out to look at across from Omega, because they have a fire pond with a standing pipe, and he sent us to Ames Hill to look at the fire pond with the hydrant, so we could better sense what it would look like. And I think it's a determination of cost. Standing pipe is a little less and the fire department doesn't care which it is, they just need the attachment for their hose.
And they would be putting it in.
They would be putting
They
it
would
in.
supervise what that looked like. Mr. Hamilton would put it in, but they would determine if we get approval to go forward, they would help us decide all that.
And they were quite enthusiastic about having something there.
He was.
Because there just is no other source of water
Yep.
until you get down to the Westby Fire Department.
Any lighting?
No. And you see in the application, I started with the Agency of Natural Resources,
Yep.
and she came to determine whether we were in a wetlands, and we're not for what she considers a wetland. Above us, yes, but where we are, no. And then I called the gentleman for Natural Resources that does endangered species, and he determined on the map there are no endangered species where we are, or down stream of us. I don't think I put in there, but I also spoke to Michael Adams from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in Essex Junction, and submitted all the information I submitted to you, and there were no objections.
Let's say there was some sort of disaster and the pond let loose its water. Where would it go?
It would go into the wetland across the road from us.
There's already a culvert, there's lots of culverts on Bonnyvale Road that take all this water. Above us, we have one in our driveway, we have one below here on the lane, our neighbors, Dr. Broderick, we all have culverts. And this would literally go into the culvert. And from what I understand, when you said if there was, how did you just voice it, you said?
Some disastrous thing happens and for some reason the pond empties a
Yes.
lot of water
Yes.
suddenly is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe like an Irene type of
Yeah.
sudden
Well,
rain.
what happened during Irene was all that water went into, there's a beaver pond there that's probably 5 or 6 acres, I would say, that just absorbed it.
Across
And then-
the road from us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, did the work that it was supposed to do and then came down and filtered into the whetstone.
Right, Bonnyvale Brook to Whetstone.
Yeah.
So is there any maintenance that this pond needs to maintain its integrity?
No. So the vegetation, you saw how thick the vegetation is? And so that vegetation, most of it's wild, but I also have extensive gardens, so all of that will be, the disruption's gonna be minimal because of just the way the ravine is. And then whatever we have to take away while he's contouring it will be put back. There will be also some nice rocks just to blend it. We have a lot of old stone walls on our property, and Mr. Hamilton has helped us over many years do other kinds of stone walls. So there'll be some sort of integration of stone walls that hopefully will look like they've always been there. Now, we don't know what those look like because we're asking you for the go-ahead. And then, have you ever been to Mr. Hamilton's field where he collects stones and you can pick the stones you want? Oh my. Anyways, you can get big ones, funny ones, flat ones.
He collects stones.
Yeah, so you go to his field and say, I want one of those, one of those, and one of those, and then when he brings his equipment, he brings you the rocks that you're gonna use to do the next part.
Showroom.
Yes, and the idea would be, once it's done, it would look like he'd never touched it. That would be the intent. And over the years, he's done other things, and when he leaves, he's an artist with his machinery, and when he leaves, it's better than when he came, even if he's creating the first part, because he's just so careful. So I think that's everything, right?
So you had said that it also could be used for swimming.
It would be just enough, it would be probably 8 feet deep.
Okay, but how would people access it to
Oh,
swim?
well,
How
it
are
would
you
be
going to
private.
designate that?
It would be strictly private.
We live where we live, and our daughter's next door. And so swimming would be the two families.
Oh, okay. So it won't be public then?
It will
No,
not.
no, not at all.
So you know how the water's getting in, right?
Yes.
And it kind of naturally comes in there?
Yes.
How does it circulate? Like, how does it get out?
Right now, there's a culvert at the bottom of that gully that goes into,
It goes under the road.
into the beaver pond across the road.
So it won't be stagnant. We won't have mosquitoes and...
Not at all.
Any further questions? I'm going to guess that this member of the public is not here to talk about this application. We have a nod from a member of the public. This is an extremely informative application. I have no questions. So,
Come by and see
if
it.
nobody else does, I'm going to suggest that
She catches you swimming there, you might be asked to leave
we
private
grant,
property.
we grant the permit, provided that if a state permit is required, they need to get one. It sounds like it's not, but we always put that in there just in case. And that erosion control measures be used to prevent anybody down slope from soil or silt disturbance. Does that sound all right?
Mhm.
Yeah, and you're not putting any lights in?
No.
I'm sorry, what?
No lighting?
No.
So moved.
So moved.
Second?
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Thank you very much. Have a nice night.
One moment before we go, I
Yes.
just want to applaud the planning office. When I went in for the first initial, Rita was able to tell me what the process was, gave me the paperwork. Then I called Brian and he walked me through it. But what I appreciate is in layman's terms, he walked me through it. So when you say it's a complete application, it was, this is what you need to do, and then we did it, and so thank you, Brian. Thank
You would be surprised how many people, despite being told by Brian what they need to do not do those things. And we still appreciate it. But you are right that Mr. Bannon does an excellent job.
So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, application 2018-160, Felicity Ratte, is that correct pronunciation?
Ratte.
That's
Oh,
it.
I'm sorry. You're not a member of the Brattleboro Ratties?
There was a Ratte family in Brattleboro.
Yeah, I
when
think they
was
all
young.
pronounce their name Ratte.
Ratte,
Oh, really?
yeah.
Bob, is Bob Ratte?
No,
That's Ratty, isn't it?
that's Ratty.
Oh, Ratty, okay.
Michelle is Michelle Ratte, and
Okay.
the state geographer was Charles Ratte.
Okay, so that's
No
two
relation.
There was
names.
Chuck Ratte when I was a kid. I think he was a geologist.
There's
Is that right,
two
Kathy?
names that I've butchered. I'm sorry. I know this fellow Ratty, and I just didn't.
He's been in trial for a long time.
Doing good on these. He's had a long day.
Okay, Miss Ratty, tell us about your project.
Try that again.
Ratte, sorry. By the way, were you sworn in?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's sworn in along with everyone else.
Miss Ratte, tell us about your project.
So I own 23 acres at the end of the driveway on 738 Bonnyvale Road, and I would like to downsize my living into a smaller house. And I don't want to leave Bonnyvale Road, it's too beautiful and wonderful a neighborhood, so I thought I would subdivide the property.
You must be just up the hill from them?
Just slightly up the hill, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, so that's it.
Okay. What's the character of the different parcels?
It's an awkward shaped parcel. It's basically an L shape. With the current house is kind of at the meeting of my knuckles here.
I didn't do a good job asking my question.
Yeah.
Let me try again.
Yeah,
The big parcel that's gonna be left.
the big parcel that's gonna be left is where I'm gonna put the little house.
Yeah, what's on it? Is it mostly forest?
It's all forest,
Okay,
all forest.
that's what I was getting at.
The whole thing is forest.
Okay. Are there any particular steep slopes?
Pretty much, again, most of it is sloped. There aren't very steep. I mean, I don't know how you define if there's an actual definition of steep. I mean, the parcel, basically there's the parcel that I've segmented, or the surveyor has segmented, is essentially has the larger house on it, and it's 3 acres. The rest of the parcel, the 20-acre parcel, goes way up, and then there's a sort of flattish section, the lowest part of it is the brook.
So the development you're planning is not gonna be on the steep slopes? but
No.
There's steep slopes on the parcel that will be left?
I'm not planning to develop the steep slope, but I will retain ownership of the steep slope.
Got it. How are people gonna get to the new parcel?
There will be a driveway off of the current driveway.
And you'll deed that parcel right away?
Yes.
Okay. Is that gonna be the road we see here?
I'm not sure that I know what you're looking at.
The Woodlands Road.
We've got this. I think this is what we're working on.
It says Woods Road. And it looks like it comes
Is
from.
that it? Is that what you got?
It's on the
Yeah.
north side of that parcel. And it looks like it's coming from Robin Weston's parcel.
So, yeah, no, that is a very old town road.
Okay,
It's just some relic of the 19th century or something.
okay,
That's
so,
not gonna be the road. The road is the driveway, if you see the driveway,
yeah,
it's gonna go off to the left. So there's gonna be a driveway that once it crosses the brook and gets above, safe enough above the brook so that the driveway doesn't damage the brook, it's gonna go left. Do you want me to point?
no, I'm just trying to make sure I understand the lot lines.
I'm not seeing a brook on this map,
Um,
is it?
Yeah.
Is it illustrated?
It's this here.
It's essentially, it's slightly below where the stone wall is.
Is the idea that the driveway that we see here
Oh, I see.
might eventually be like a Y?
Yes, that's exactly correct.
And right now, there's only the right
There's only-
side
yeah,
of the
it goes
Y.
up to the right. At
Oh, okay.
the conclusion of this, if it all works out, it'll go to the left and to the right.
And that's the right of way you were just talking about?
Yeah,
Got it.
Okay.
But there's an additional right-of-way that you're not actually on Bonnyvale. You have to go
Right.
through an easement to get
Yeah.
to your property.
it's, yeah, the whole thing is a deeded right of way. The whole
So,
thing.
so essentially, the driveway is 50 feet from, you have 50 feet of driveway from Bonnyvale and then into this.
It has the deeded
Okay.
right of way for
Yeah.
that. I understand. That's what I've been told.
How much is gonna be cleared for this?
The minimal amount.
Key ballpark, we're talking maybe a quarter acre, half acre,
Yeah, I would imagine.
in that range?
Yeah.
This clearing looks to me like it's maybe a tenth of an acre, right?
Right, but that clearing is gonna stay, because that square parcel is the parcel that's has the house on it, it's gonna be untouched.
Oh, that's already there?
Yeah,
Okay.
Do
Pardon
you
me?
see the proposed house site up in the
Mhm.
corner there?
Mm-hmm.
I think, oh.
When she said small, she meant small.
The house is small.
It's supposed to,
the property's big.
it's gonna be 900 square feet or something.
That's the part of here that says lot 1, right?
Yeah,
That's it,
Yeah.
3.0 acres. Area.
that's the thing, that's what's being subdivided.
Right.
Is that, which has the existing house on it.
Oh.
Will there be any restriction on future subdivision of the parcel?
I would prefer that this parcel remain together for the rest of my life and its life and the life of the state. I mean, it's part of why I'm doing this is that I think it should remain essentially forested land.
Mhm. Are you using energy efficient building methods?
Absolutely.
Okay. Are there any trails here that are used by the public for walking, riding horses, skiing, things like that?
Yes.
Are they marked? Is that trail on the,
The trail that's there is essentially the trail that I have produced by just walking it 3 or 4 times a day with my dog.
is what you're doing going to impact the trails?
No, they will be maintained,
You putting up any cables or burying them?
burying them.
Okay.
But your water source is a well,
Well, yep.
and a septic is it septic or is it town or?
It's gonna be, no, there's a septic, I have a septic plan, and it perked and it's fine. Septic.
What do you think is the most amount of forest you need to clear?
Well, and that's such a difficult question. I don't know. I mean, I'm planning on, it would be preferable to have the house, such a small house, be run on solar because essentially it would pay for itself.
Right.
But I've lived in this place for 8, 9 years, and the sun doesn't reach any part of the land until about 10 o'clock in the afternoon. So I don't think that even if I cut 100 trees, I'm not going to expose myself to an enormous amount of solar. So I think there's going to be a minimum of cutting.
Okay. That's all my questions.
So what you're asking us for is the subdivision.
Right, and then I guess I have to come back and get the housing permit. I don't actually kind of really understand that.
Brian is always good for explaining that. If you're just doing a single person house, you shouldn't have to come before us.
Okay.
But,
It's because of steep slope regulations,
right,
which I didn't realize until I was analyzing the site plan after it had been warned. Otherwise, I would have asked you if you wanted to combine them. But because the warrant had already been published, that wasn't a possibility.
So I need to come back and do this again for the house?
couldn't we put a condition in here just requiring that any building conform with the steep slope ordinance and then have her come to you for zoning, for administrative approval?
Well, it's conditional use though.
I don't mind coming back. You chaps seem very friendly.
Is this a tiny house?
We may not have a choice.
No, it's not gonna be a tiny house. I'm gonna put a slab or a foundation of some
Oh,
sort.
okay.
I mean, the long and the short of it is we could have done it at one shot, but we just didn't catch it, and because we have warning requirements, we can't do it one shot.
That's fine.
My proposal, if people are so inclined, is that we approve this application, provided that all state permits are obtained, a Mylar be submitted to the town clerk, signed by the ZBA, the ZA, sorry, right? The new deeds be filed within 180 days, the new home oriented to make use of solar energy and conform to Energy Star standards. It'll be served by the existing driveway, traversing the riparian buffer. If the culvert's replaced, the replacement needs to meet the standard for the roads. The house and driveway will require steep slope approval. The driveway has to conform to our stormwater management ordinance. That forest clearance be minimized to the extent possible. The new home have either 120 volt GFCI or 220 volt GFCI on a dedicated circuit. That erosion control measures necessary to protect the downslope be undertaken. That trails that are currently used not be disturbed, and that there be limitation on future subdivision of the parcel, the new parcel.
The last one has to be a little bit more clear. It could be like a limitation for 10 years, no further subdivision, or I don't know if you want to propose some language.
I'm open to what the applicant wants here.
Oh, can you just restrict further subdivision in perpetuity?
No.
Oh.
I believe you could deed that, but
She could deed that, but I don't think we can restrict it.
Do I not want to do that? I just can't imagine anybody wanting, you'd have to build into a slope, and you're not allowed to build into slopes, right?
it would just be a major imposition on the part of the board to impose that as a condition on your.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we don't generally like to tell
You can
people,
put it in your deed.
we don't generally like to do something that's going to affect the property forever unless there's a good reason based on the ordinances we have to follow.
Okay,
If you want to do that, that's your land.
okay, well then,
Um,
fine, I'll do it on my own, I won't trouble you with it.
But we're happy, if you think a 10-year limitation
That'd be
sounds
great.
good,
Sure.
okay, let's do a 10-year limitation on future subdivision. Anything further? How about a so moved?
So moved.
Second?
Second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you.
Good luck with your project.
Yes. Great.
Can I ask a stupid question? What does the Mylar refer to? Is that some sort of overlay?
It's the overlay.
Well, yeah, when I actually sign these things, Brian sends a tool up to my office with this Mylar in it. And I
You sign it as
it.
the chair, and then it goes to the town records so that they can use it as a reference to the existing parcel map. Is that how it works?
I think so.
Okay.
Frankly, I sign it and then I forget about
I
it.
just wonder why this isn't done digitally.
Oh, wait a minute, we did adjourn it, did we?
No, we haven't adjourned. How about a motion to adjourn?
Do we have any other business?
I don't think so.
I move we adjourn.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Okay, I can talk to Tim Hamilton.